Welcome to Hardheaded Podcast. We're excited that you've joined us as we have a conversation. We found that a good conversation allows us to share what's on our mind, whether current events, what's grinding our gears, or our pet peeves.
It also allows us to share our top 3, a list of our favorite things on any given subject, most of which are highly opinionated. In closing, we share a good word. Solid friendships are encouraging. Even if we joke and give each other a hard time, our ultimate responsibility is to uplift each other.
Our goal is that you'll feel like you're part of the conversation, like you were in the studio with us, and that you feel encouraged after tuning in to our podcast. It's time to join the conversation. All right, welcome to the podcast. We're glad you're here today. Shut up, Troy. Today we've got Chet with what's on his mind. Our top 3 today is ways to improve yourself. And we're going to finish it off with a good word from Troy, again, coming out of the chosen devotional book. The blue book is
the blue book, 40 Days with Jesus, book 2.
Yep. So anyway, let's kick it off. Chet, what's on your mind?
Matt, you're a terrorist.
I know it.
That's what's on my mind. I have here a summary of the terrorism threat to the U.S. homeland from the Department of Homeland Security that was issued on February 7th of this year.
Radar.
And it expires on June 7th. And what it says is that we're all terrorists now, basically. That there's a heightened threat due to the online environment that is filled with MDM. Does anybody know what MDM stands for?
I know what MDMA stands for. But
something about misinformation, something, I forget.
Nice try. I bet Troy knows.
Misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation make up what the CISA defines as informative activities.
So MDM, mis, dis, and malinformation. And we're terrorists now because of the malinformation that we say things based on fact. So if you say a factual comment, but if someone uses that factual comment out of context, it misleads them to harm or manipulate. So if you publish online content that is factual and someone else uses that out of context, you are the terrorist.
As the author of the original content.
The content creator.
The factual content but I only have to worry about this till June 7th, right? And then I'm not a terrorist.
That's when the memo expires.
So then I'm not a terrorist after June 7th.
I probably...
There might be an amendment.
If you think how things are going, it's going to be... if you think something wrong after June 7th, you're going to be a terrorist. But this is a really, really big deal.
Free speech is out the window.
It's gone.
It's gone.
According to the Department of Homeland Security.
And the facts that you say online are only factual if they say it's factual.
And what they're concerned about is people sowing discord or undermining public trust in the U.S. government institutions.
So what I hear you reading is it's factual content that turns you into a terrorist. But most of the people getting canceled, they're saying they're spreading unfactual stuff in the 3 things listed, right?
No.
I would say that they would say that they're misinformation.
Right.
Misinformation is false, but not created or shared with the intention of causing harm. So that would be, I'm trying to think of an example of that, but I can't think of one that was outright false. Disinformation is deliberately created to mislead, to harm, or to manipulate a person, social group, organization, or country. So that's a lie. It's just something that's deliberately created to mislead. And then malinformation is based on fact, but if used out of context to mislead, harm, or manipulate. So, and this for the intent, that only applies. It's only applicable if it sows discord or undermines the public trust in the U.S. government. So the MDM about any other institution, according to the Department of Homeland Security, is not, it's okay still. But if it's MDM that causes it causes an undermining to any U.S. government institution, then that's a terrorism threat. So what they're going after is not the people that are taking things out of context, but it's actually the people that are creating the content that can be taken out of context, which, according to my understanding of the First Amendment, that's cool. You could do that all you want, especially factual information. Who cares how people take it out of context? It's not your responsibility.
That's basically the government calling you
a terrorist.
Well, but they're also calling you stupid because you can't make up your own mind.
No.
They're deciding for you. They're telling me.
No. They're calling you a terrorist because somebody else is stupid.
But that's what I mean. But they're like, if you take, for example, Joe Rogan, because his name's come up quite a bit with his whole Spotify deal and people wanting to cancel him and politicians getting mad over him bringing doctors and people who have actually done things in relation to the vaccine and saying, here, these are the facts. But so the doctor's not responsible for it. It's him as the content creator. But me as a listener to him.
You're too stupid to distinguish what.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So they're.
Yeah, but they're not going after you for being stupid. They're going after him for allowing an avenue for information to be out there.
Right.
For free speech to be out there.
Which is a big deal. And this is, if you go back, my views have changed on this. If you go back to the creation, does anybody remember when the Department of Homeland Security was created?
Wasn't it right after 9/11?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why was it created?
To defend the homeland from terrorist attacks.
External terrorist attacks.
External terrorists.
Not domestic.
Right.
Because that used to be up to the kind of the FBI. That was kind of their wheelhouse.
So what do we find out from Snowden?
It was internal.
They were using the NSA to spy on U.S. citizens, right?
Yeah.
So then the NSA was around well before 9/11. So we found out already that things that were created to do stuff for the foreign spying, if you will, to keep our nation safe, they turned those and started doing things in the United States to citizens that were not legal, which is why they still want to string him up.
Yep.
Because he brought that to light. And what did we do about it? Nothing. All right. And now, this is actually, there's a litany of things that are leading up to this. I think this is tied to the school board memo. You guys remember that one? Mm-mm. So Merrick Garland he's our Attorney General from the Department of Justice, in October 4th sent out a memorandum that says he's been seeing a disturbing spike in harassment, intimidation, and threats of violence against school administrators and board members. So he is authorizing and actually told that the FBI must meet with local governments and give the full weight of the FBI behind all of anything that's going on. And my concern here, I'm not okay with threatening violence. I don't care how much mask wearing or not wearing that you want in your school. It is not okay to threaten anybody on the school board, your teacher, your school administrator. That is 100% not okay. And he says that's not okay, and that they're going to give the FBI authority to come in and step in at a federal level, which we know that if you're going to intimidate, threaten, or somebody at the Sedgwick County Zoo, is the FBI getting involved in that?
No, local law enforcement.
Local law enforcement, right? That's exactly how we should be governed. Local law, local issue.
Right. So
he's saying the FBI is coming in, but
over that.
But he adds in intimidation. Well, how do you know somebody's been intimidated? And is intimidating someone always a bad thing?
No, intimidation works.
So
in certain scenarios,
my concern, the way that the federal government can interpret this,
and I don't know where you're going to go with that, but the federal government should be intimidated by the people. I mean, that's our job. They should be scared of us. I mean, that's the way it was originally written. But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, but I don't think somebody like a school board member sitting in one of these meetings and the parents are upset. I think that school board member should say, if I don't listen to these people, I fear I'm going to be voted out. I fear that I'm going to be asked to resign. I don't want that to happen. I better pay attention. They should not fear physical violence.
Yeah.
But if a school board member in this case says, I just feel intimidated because, Troy, parent of, the kids in my school district, was very
Vocal,
emotionally charged.
And that's okay to be that way with nonviolent.
But if I say, I felt intimidated by Troy, I know he didn't say anything, but the way that he was, his voice was cracking, I think that he could probably cause harm to me. Let's get the FBI involved.
See, I would be immediately out because I get up there. You called me on it this week. I was on a phone call, an emotionally charged phone call, and I'm sitting here.
He was beaten. Waving your magic wand. But he was. It was like every word. He was like,
oh, that was good stuff.
Let me just say that I've got to get the thing to go on there, and I've been sending emails, and nobody's been reading. And I'm like, good grief, quit pounding on the desk.
So if I'm standing up in front of a school board and I'm pounding the podium, intimidated.
So
intimidating.
It goes from that. These are the dots that I'm connecting here. I'm just drawing these lines. So the attorney general is saying if you get emotionally charged and somebody feels intimidated, then it's no longer a local law enforcement issue. And you have an opportunity. You mentioned knowing the sheriff of a county that you spend a lot of time in. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people that I know lots of Wichita Police Department. We've had a Wichita PD guy on our podcast.
Sergeant, yeah.
So if somebody says, hey, Wichita PD, why don't you show up because Troy's intimidating somebody, it could be somebody that you know. And they're like, oh, wait a minute. I know Troy. Let's get to the bottom of this. Oh, yeah, Troy's just really upset about this and he's very passionate about it, but he's not threatening anybody. Like he's not trying to intimidate anybody. He's just trying to get his point across. So now you're bringing in the FBI, and you're not going to know that guy or girl. Like it's just not. That's not going to be the case. And now we're talking federal stuff instead of local issues. And that's a huge issue to me. And then you're like, well, that really stinks. And all of our congressmen that we all like got up there and they were like, Merrick Garland, why did you issue this memo? Well, because I got a memo from the National School Board Association that said that their members are feeling threatened. Well, guess what? That was 5 days before he issued this memo. How quickly does the Department of Justice turn around stuff? Not that quickly. What we found out later is that somebody in the White House wrote the memo and coordinated with the National School Board Association to send the memo to the DOJ, so the DOJ had a reason to do this. So this is all coordinated, and then there's been, 20 different states, the state school board association that supports the National School Board Association that have voted and said, we're no longer a part of the National School Board Association because this doesn't even represent our view. Like, so they're dropping it. This is 100% fabricated at a national level to intimidate people from speaking up in school board meetings. Well, now what we've got is the Department of Homeland Security, in my opinion, is trying to intimidate everyone because they could label you a stinking terrorist because you're speaking up about something against the government. You could read what this says and say that the conversation that we're having right now could be taken out of context and is going to cause undermine the public trust in the Department of Homeland Security, which is a U.S. government institution.
So I'll go ahead and come right out. Come get me. The Department of Homeland Security is a waste of money.
It needs to go away.
It needs to be disbanded completely.
Well, what you're reading, it sounds like Nazi Germany.
Maybe. It may be worse than that. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't live in Germany when all this stuff's going on.
But terrorists.
Yeah, but the
when are they going to start rounding them up?
They're already doing it. They still have. We were talking about that the other day. They from January 6th, they still have those people in jail
without charges,
and no
trial,
no court date,
no court dates.
So, and are you hearing about that?
Nope.
So this gets to a broader point, which may be too big to talk about. But Matt and I got an argument about this. I know we're getting upset about this, but I can tell you right now, nothing is going to happen. Nothing. No one out there is going to do anything about this. I mean, there may be some tough questions that, a Ted Cruz may ask at some meeting, some panel, some Senate Judiciary Committee or whatever. But the government is going to do what the government wants to do, and the citizens are going to sit idly by and watch this all play out. And Matt disagrees with me, or you may have changed your mind because I'm an excellent debater.
No, and I would say over this, is it going to come to anything more? No, probably not. And I would agree with you that a majority of citizens are just going to sit back and be like, oh well.
I'll just keep my mouth shut and nothing will happen to me, and it's okay.
But to implore people, I mean, you keep your mouth shut long enough, you no longer have a voice because it's just gone. They've taken it away from you, and they're doing it right here with the MDM. I mean, and that labeling you as a terrorist. Oh, I mean, I've been labeled that since I got out of the Marine Corps, anyway, with security clearances and stuff that I know how to do. I'm already on their radar. So, but who cares? We've given, and I think I've said that on this podcast before. If I haven't, I'm pretty vocal about it in day to day, but we have given way too much power to the government, and it needs to be wrangled back. And
you can't say this. It needs to be wrangled back because you're undermining all these federal agencies, terrorists.
So let them come get me.
But
it go ahead.
Here's the thing. I mean,
because this could turn into like a 5-hour.
The big issue is who determines what MDM is. Like, what is misinformation? And I got a couple examples here. It was considered misinformation and conspiracy theories that once a vaccine would be developed for COVID-19, that there would be vaccine mandates. Like, people were shunned for saying, hey,
they're not going to do that.
Be careful. They're going to come out with mandates, and you're going to have a passport, and you're going to. No, you cannot say that. There's no way. That's misinformation. There's no plan for that. Well, where are we?
Oh,
like, we're there.
Yeah.
Like we are there. Like,
but that's their easiest out on a social media platform is to label you crazy or a conspiracy theorist. But so far they've all come true. And
what this says is if you say that, and there's another thing, who is doing the monitoring here? Well, it says in this memo that the DHS is working with private sector partners to identify MDM. So
Facebook, Twitter.
Facebook is the one that's telling the federal government that Troy's giving misinformation or giving malinformation. And I'm just picking on you, not because you haven't, you're not a terrorist.
How many times has that little ticker come up, misleading information?
But vaccine mandates at one time would be considered malinformation, which actually came true. Saying that vaccines don't prevent spreading COVID, because they were saying, hey, vaccine prevents spreading COVID. If you were to stand up at that time and say, I'm pretty sure that this is not going to prevent the spread of COVID, you're a terrorist, according to this Department of Homeland Security threat update. Because that's malinformation. It's actually based in fact, but it's getting you to not go along with what the government's telling you. But we all know, and the government admits now, that that's true. It is 100% true. The vaccine does not prevent you from spreading COVID. That's another thing that you would be labeled a terrorist for under this memo here, or this policy, this update. Any words that lead to a protest, okay? If you post something that somebody reads and says, based on this information, factual or not, but let's just say it's factual. Based on this factual information that I just read from Matt, I'm going to schedule a protest. And that protest could possibly lead to violence,
Sure.
could possibly lead to violence, then you, Matt,
I'm
are committing
responsible.
terrorism because you put information out on the internet that somebody could want to protest about, and that protest could possibly lead to violence. And they mention in here violent extremist attacks during 2021. That these grievances have caused violent. Please tell me, outside of January 6th, tell me what all the stuff that we've mentioned, which is talking about here, is primarily COVID-19. What violent and that wasn't even COVID-19.
No, he's doing it.
He was banging on the
table.
desk. His wand's going to come out in a minute.
So and that's just what's on my mind. And here's some.
Mine sounds like a lightsaber anyway.
There's two things here that one that I know and it doesn't scare me. It's just a fact. Really proud, and this happened. It would be earlier this week. One of the executives at Levi Strauss. Oh man, I had her name written down here somewhere. Say, I think it was Jennifer Say, S-E-Y. Fantastic lady. And she was a very politically active person at Levi's, very politically active outside of her role, right?
Right.
So she posted on Twitter about this. She was 100% behind the BLM movement, and she's got some kids with different races. I don't know if they were adopted or whatever. She just mentioned she had 4 kids and 2 of them were black. So there's a lot of activity she has. She's very politically outspoken. She's all about preventing mental abuse, physical abuse, making sure that the community supports these things. We're also 100%. This whole George Floyd thing that went down was bad, and that had a big impact on people in her household. And she was singing from the mountaintops about what people can do to advocate for this and advocate for that. Levi Strauss, 100% silent. If anything, they helped support that, she could drum up some donations for some causes and things, in their local community. She lives in San Francisco, by the way. Well, she saw the negative impact of masking in schools on her kids and in public schools.
Yep.
And she started to be very opposed vocally about masking for kids. Like we don't need to be masking. It's going to be more harmful than it is protective based on the data that we have with kids getting through COVID without many major issues. And so she just lived her life like normal, was very vocally active. Well, Levi Strauss said, you need to shut up. Like, you cannot be politically active about this. And she ended up moving to Denver because the Colorado public schools were allowing no masking when San Francisco wasn't, so she can get her kids in public schools. Anyway, so she quit. She said she couldn't take it anymore. It's hypocritical that this is the one thing that they're going to tell her to shut up about when all this other stuff she could talk about. This is the thing here. Mm-hmm. But this is exactly why I'm saying that the people of this nation are just cowards and are going to allow all this to happen. She said this: in my more than 2 decades at the company, I took my role as manager most seriously. I helped mentor and guide promising young employees who went on to become executives in the same company. In the end, no one stood with me. Not one person publicly said that they agreed with me or even that they don't agree with me, but supported my right that I could say what I believe anyway. I'd like to think as many of my now former colleagues know that this is wrong. I'd like to think that they stayed silent because they feared losing their standing at work and incurring the wrath of the mob. But I hope in time that they'll at least acknowledge that. So what we see over and over and over again is the federal government, companies, culture going farther and farther and farther, faster to a point now where you are a terrorist if you say something that somebody that says that's undermining the government. And we're not going to do anything about it. We're okay with it. Nobody's going to do anything about it. In fact, I'll go so far as saying if somebody wants to come after me for saying this, it's probably going to be the local cop that shows up to put somebody in cuffs. They're going to support it because they're cowards too when it comes to stuff like this. They don't want the full weight of government coming down on them.
Well,
And if you think otherwise, you're in a dream world.
I do think otherwise, but I am.
I wish I had a button to push on I'd hit the snoring key.
That was a good one.
I don't even know. They're not labeled. But, and I think, and again, I would agree with you on a majority of that stuff. However, when you have, where was that school at where those kids stood up in protest and said, we're not masking up anymore. And then they locked them in the gym.
That was in Northern California.
Yeah. But it's the kids like that are going to see, and they're going to be sick of this stuff, that are going to stand up.
Nope.
I think they're going to be the ones that are going to.
We're going to grind them down. That's just not going to happen. We have the.
Because, well.
And you and I.
So I guess for what I see when you talk about, an executive or people in these positions that, like she didn't want to, nobody wanted to stand next to her and risk whatever, whatever you call
the wrath of the company.
Yeah. Or public opinion.
Yeah.
And I mean, why are they like that? What's the root cause of that? What do you think it is?
Self-preservation.
It's money. It's money.
I wouldn't even put it that far.
They're more worried about, I'm going to lose my job. I just want to live my life, make my money, and go home.
But I don't think their fear is not losing money. Their fear is losing their way of life being.
No, I think losing their life.
Losing their way of life.
Money.
Well,
because that's what provides it.
Well, money's not everything.
To us, it isn't.
Yeah, we're getting into semantics there.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I don't want to put up with the hassle. Like they'll go find a job and they'll go make money.
So I'm kind of.
They don't want to put up with the hassle.
I see both of your points, and I hope that our kids do wake up, or that we wake up and start saying things and start speaking out against this crap.
I don't know if you can use wake up, because that's too close to woke.
Well, awaken yourself.
The new woke.
Yeah, the new woke, like the new Coke.
Woke redo.
But the sad part is, like, I have hope that will happen. But the sad part is, I'm seeing what Chet is talking about.
Oh, it won't happen. It will not happen.
Nobody, like, the stories about those kids in Northern California standing up and saying, we're not wearing a freaking mask. Like, those are very few and far between, as opposed to.
But it probably took, and I don't know, because you're the one that showed me that video. But I imagine it started with one that rallied a group.
Yeah.
Oh, well, sure. It always starts with one.
What did they win? What did they win?
I don't know. I didn't.
Nothing.
I didn't follow up.
Nothing.
But the fact that they stood up.
And it shows that don't do it again. It's not worth your time. And we all feel good about watching a video. We're like, yeah. But that's all we're seeing. All we're seeing is a senator or a congressman rail on the attorney general for being an idiot and issuing a memo 5 days after, like some puppet, to say that, the FBI needs to jump in all the school board meetings. And we're like, yeah, you go get them, congressman and senator. They didn't retract the memo. The FBI still working with local law enforcement to go after people. So we feel good. Yeah, let's throw ourselves a party. Look at this YouTube video of so-and-so going to town on this guy. Man, hey, that guy really looks like an idiot. Ha ha. Well, he's done with that hearing, and he goes back and he's doing the exact same thing, and nothing changed.
Well, again, self-preservation for politicians as well.
No, the politicians are going after him, but they're not changing anything. They can't stop the force of the weight of government. It's way too far gone. And our men and women, our young men and women, and we saw this in 2001, and I know so many people that never had an idea, never had a thought to go into the military and saw an attack on us that came from overseas and said, I'm not going to tolerate this. I'm going to go and I'm going to fight that. We don't have the stomach to say that what we sing at the beginning of ball games, this nation, we're all so proud of this nation. We don't have the stomach to say, hey, they're too big and they're getting it way too deep into my business. Like that we have been indoctrinated to say that we can't do that. We're just not going to do that.
I think a lot of that comes from is people just don't know
How to do it.
or what to go about it, how to do it in the right way. Because obviously you don't want to,
You can't do it.
your first resort can't be violence.
It never should be violence.
That should always be the last resort.
But you
Well,
can't.
so what's the first resort? Like your words? Well, they just took that away from us.
Yeah.
Free speech is gone.
So on the timeline or on the spectrum on actions to be taken, where are we at?
No, it's not nothing. It's just going to happen. Because if you are an individual, and this is my pessimistic view here right now. by the way.
Right.
I'm taking the devil's advocate view.
we picked that up.
If you, Matt, were to say, I'm done, who cares? You're not done. Like, you can get mad and you can yell and scream. Nothing's going to change. There's not enough people. It's too big. It's too late. Like, the government has too much power. They're too involved, and they've gone too far without ever being checked. Like,
I will say,
we know now that we had a former senator, former secretary of state, literally pay people to spy on a presidential candidate, and then a president literally break into things electronically in Trump Tower, in the White House, or the office of the executive, whatever. I don't know if that was the White House or somewhere else, but in his executive office. And nothing is going to happen to those people. We know that they lied and made up the Steele dossier. Nothing's going to happen. Those same people that are in the FBI are there. And until, the only thing I could see is if we had enough power in Washington to start firing and shutting down these departments. They're like the Department of Homeland Security, and all of its employees need to be fired. We don't need to say this department doesn't exist anymore, but we're going to take all that activity and stick it over here, shut it down. And I'm to the point now, the FBI needs to go. The Federal Bureau of Investigations needs to be non-existent. Full stop. They need to be shut down. They've gone too far. I know there's a lot of great agents out there. I know, yeah, there's hundreds and hundreds of bad ones too. And we're just going to have to throw it all out and start over from scratch. But we can't do it with the people that are hiring right now because we're going to have the same thing that we've got right now. But,
well, and I agree with that point 100% because I was saying that about the military. You're pushing out, the guys like me, what you would call basically the combat veteran that has a certain frame of mind towards Islamic extremism.
They didn't push you out; they blew you out.
Well, but they're pushing out my people with various regulations
with like-minded people, lemmings that are going to get back.
Matter of fact, I just talked to a buddy of mine who's he's now a warrant officer in the Marine Corps. He was enlisted and then went to the warrant officer program. And I was calling him about some, because I know he's a huge Chiefs fan, so I was just checking up with him about some stuff. And I was like, "Are you going to the game?" And he's like, "No, I'm not going." He goes, "I'll be in, wherever. I got somewhere to go this weekend." "Oh yeah. What do you got going on that's taking you away from a Chiefs game?" I'm like, "You're one of the biggest fans." Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Well, I got to go let some people go who didn't get vaccinated. I got to go kick them out."
Yeah.
And so they're recruiting like-minded people that will enforce, the gun confiscations or whatever mask mandates or
warrantless searches.
Yeah,
and it's all happened already.
But that's
already.
How it's the slow takeover.
Yeah,
where they can.
And I'm just saying it's too far gone. We're already too far, and they're just going to double down on their process. And we're running over time. Go ahead, you had some.
No, I'm just pissed off. I can't really talk much about it.
All right,
I would be too. It was all doom and gloom. But we're gonna take a break, and when we come back, we're gonna go over our top 3 ways to improve yourself. Even though it probably doesn't matter because we're just all gonna go.
What about the
anyway.
top 3 ways to improve your government?
That's another hour-long top 3 segment.
No
we don't have time for that.
I love our government. They're great. Don't undermine them.
We'll be right back.
They're great. Okay.
At Admiral's Pennant, our mission is to offer the latest and refined, high-quality masculine products and services to the modern gentleman, as well as provide him with the tools and products necessary to look, act, and feel confident in his appearance and social interactions. Check it out at admiralspennant.com. Without it, you might as well shave. And we're back.
I got him.
Yes. All right. Today we've got our top 3 ways to improve yourself. And Troy, why don't you go first?
Number 3. I'm going to walk 30 minutes a day.
Oh.
I'm going to move
Hashtag
more.
jealous.
Oh, you're going. You're going at this. This is what you're going to do to improve yourself. Like you're committing to everybody right now. You're going to walk there, or you're just saying, "Hey, that would be really good if everybody would do that."
That'd be really good if everybody did it. I think the obesity rates in this country would plummet if everybody walked. Did you know I went to the doctor the other day?
I did not know that.
Because we're testing out new doctors.
Ooh.
Ooh.
How do you do that?
I
Well-
have a question for you.
Well, when you go,
Why are you wearing a mask?
when you go to a doctor and you talk about vaccinations and you disagree possibly on certain things, then they fire you and you have to go find a new doctor.
Oh.
So we're on doctor number 3.
Yeah.
And
Do you ask them the questions that you get fired for?
pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. It's good conversations. Yeah. So they looked at your BMI, which is your body mass index.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mine is a 27. If you're over 25, you're obese. So sorry, guys.
Yeah.
I am obese.
I'm
Okay.
right there.
I
I'm
need
right
to
there with you.
walk- I need to walk 30 minutes a day.
You get to take your legs off and weigh yourself, right?
BMI doesn't.
Oh, but that
doesn't-
impacts your height.
Yeah, BMI doesn't count towards that. You know. Did I tell you the way the Marine Corps calculated your BMI back in the day?
No.
They took a measurement of your waist and a measurement of your neck, subtracted the two, and that number was your BMI.
Oh. Well,
So
so
the-
it's height and weight now.
Yeah, and typically the Marine Corps was height and weight too. You had your height and weight standards, but then you had to tape below a
Yeah.
certain BMI.
Yeah.
Stupid, so stupid. Especially when they made me go in after I'd lost my legs, and they're like, "Yeah, how tall are you?" I'm like, "Yeah, well, I was
Yeah.
6 foot."
Yeah.
Okay, hop on the scale. Whoa, man, you're 130 pounds. You're like underweight. Like I'm half the man I used to be. It's like, why are we doing this? Is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. You make me come in to like, I had no other appointments that day. And if I didn't have appointments, I didn't have to go anywhere. But they're like, hey, come in. We're going to do height and weight today. Oh, okay.
Let's just do weight.
Which you got, I saw a picture of you that came across my feed yesterday. I think it was yesterday when you were wearing your tall legs. I'm like, dang,
Yeah.
you used to be tall.
Yeah, because we made jokes about him trying to catch up with you.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that would be, I don't know if I go back. I'd have to incrementally increase my height.
I think you should go back
I've tried. I can't get
the next time it snows.
Ooh,
So you can be on
that's
ice
the worst
with new
time.
legs.
That's the worst time to do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead, Troy. Sorry.
Number 2, it's always good to read. So I'm going to read 1 book a month.
Oh, that's tough.
I've already started. I'm in 1.5 books right now.
What are you reading right now?
I'm reading The E-Myth, which is a book about entrepreneurship
Oh,
and owning your own business.
sound
I
like,
thought it was some sci-fi thing.
Oh, no.
sounded like malinformation to me.
It's The Entrepreneurial Myth, The E-Myth,
Oh.
by Robert Merger or somebody. I don't know. I butchered that.
Bob.
Yeah, but I'm actually reading it. I'm in a business consulting group with a bunch of other business owners, and we're going through that together.
Yeah.
It's been really helpful. So the E-Myth. I read Love Wins last month by Rob Bell, and I do not. If you're in a spot where you're questioning your spirituality,
Don't listen to
don't
Rob Bell.
listen to Rob Bell ever, because he is a heretic
Yeah.
in that regard. But I was challenged to
I have
read
bells.
that.
Bells go off when I hear Rob Bell's name.
Right. So, but I was challenged to read that by another person that I'm listening to. Actually, the guy I've talked about before, the Bayma podcast. He has some questionable stuff, but was challenged to read. If you don't agree with somebody, go listen to them first and then disagree with them
Yeah.
was kind of the challenge. So I wanted to really dig into what
is he saying? What does he have to say?
What is he saying? What don't I agree with Rob Bell?
Right.
And so I listened to that.
So
book.
nobody else needs to read his stuff because Troy read it and it doesn't.
Right. So it
pan
doesn't
out.
fit with scripture. So don't read it. But yeah, that's why. And then right now I'm reading C.S. Lewis book. I can't think of the name of it. It's not one I'd ever heard of. But it's pretty good. I'll bring that another day. So yeah, and then number 1, ways to improve yourself. When you go home, especially if you have kids or little kids, just put your phone away.
It's a good rule.
Get rid of it.
Yep.
My wife and I are trying to hold each other accountable with that. So that is number 1.
All right.
What do you?
I have your sheet. I'm like, that's not my.
Y'all have each other's notes? What's going on?
Yeah, I have his notes. I'm like, I don't agree with myself on. This isn't even mine.
He doesn't agree. Oh, imagine that.
I printed it out earlier. And
Good stuff.
yeah, I'm gonna have to find that. Matt, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Since you're going to be looking for your notes and you can't disagree with me when you're away from the mic.
There you go.
All right. So my number 3 is pretty simple. Take a masterclass. So
I disagree.
he's trying,
He's trying to.
but I subscribed to that last year and I've gone through, they have a ton of stuff. I've obviously,
Now that it's been around for a few years, I mean, there's
so many
classes on everything.
Oh yeah. I'm literally
So
almost everything.
I have a friend that took the Daniel Negreanu masterclass on how to play Texas Hold'em.
Mm-hmm.
He watched it twice. And then the 2 following months, we played with a group of guys, probably 8 to 10 people. He won both times.
Yeah. I mean,
Incredible.
It's so good to, even some of the stuff, like cooking's obvious one that I really enjoy.
Right. Yeah.
But some of the other stuff that I really enjoy is the creative writing process and how you develop a story and how to be a good storyteller, know, and I'm pretty good at telling a story as I write, in creative writing, but I'm not very good spoken storyteller. Like I don't really tell a good story. So I've been trying to improve myself in that regard. So that would be my number 3. Number 2 would be kind of in line with take a master class, but it would be learn at least one new skill. So whether that's
Like a day or this year or...
doesn't matter.
Okay.
Hold yourself accountable to whatever. If you take on like knife making, that's going to be a year, or if you take on,
Or it could just take one Saturday
but then you don't make,
with a class.
but you didn't really learn the skill. You kind of got, here you go.
You learn how to do it, but you can't actually go out and do it yourself without all the tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it would take you a year
Right.
to become semi-proficient to where you made something that would be useful for you, and then it takes a long time to make something for somebody else.
Yeah.
I mean, something as, and it could be something as simple as I'm going to put these 14 knots on my list and I'm going to learn 1 knot a week. Just one little new skill that you can find useful.
Hey, you know what I learned how to do Sunday? I've been working on it for about probably 2 weeks now. I can finally solve the Rubik's Cube.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I did. I had to follow like the directions and just watch some YouTube videos. Couldn't figure it out on my own. Don't have that brain. But my kids have been into it, watching YouTube and trying to figure it out.
I'm gonna give you one right here. I'm kidding. I don't have
Oh well, I would do it. My daughter figured it out first, and then I figured it out. Now my sons are getting into it, and they're going down the progression. It's pretty fun to watch.
See, but is that a skill?
I would say yes.
A useful skill?
I don't know if about useful, but
Maybe I should have clarified.
solving puzzles, I think, is a useful skill.
Well, that's basic problem solving.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
I would say it's useful.
Yeah, I guess that would be a useful skill.
Yeah.
Looking at it in that light.
Yeah.
And then, and I don't know. Chet's over there just scribbling away, and I'm already at my number 1, and he's up next.
Go ahead.
and the printer's out.
It's not working.
Well, imagine that.
Adapt and overcome.
I always have to, like, when we're working, I always have to send my stuff over to Chet in order for him to print it.
Yeah.
Which is why we're busted. Oh, there it goes.
Which is why we're looking for printer sponsors.
Sounds like it's coming hot off the
and
printer.
I'm not
now.
going to endorse Lexmark.
And then number 1 would just be to read your Bible daily.
Oh, there you go.
Whether you read it or listen to it, I think that's one of the absolute best ways to improve yourself.
I
And
would agree.
everybody around you. That'd be number 1.
I think those are good. Masterclass.
Learn a new skill.
Learn a new skill every day.
Well, or once a week.
Or one that year, like forging a knife.
Yeah.
That was his example. You were away.
Some skills take longer, so you might not be able to do one a day. I don't think my brain could take one a day, one new skill a day. I'd be overloaded.
Probably not.
And I think it would take me at least 3 days to learn a new knot. So that's why I put the
Depends on the knot.
if you're doing a knot a week.
Have you ever heard of decision fatigue?
Yes.
It's a thing.
I can guess what that would be about.
Yeah, your mind can only make so many decisions in a day before you're just like brain fog mush.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that was a thing until a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I make less decisions now knowing that. I'm just kidding.
just so they're better.
I'm just
so the decisions I do make are very good.
That's government malinformation holding you down.
That's right.
So I'll go now.
Oh, perfect. Chet.
I'm back, and I have my sheet, not yours. There's some similarities here, which is why I was confused at first. I was like, I don't think I wrote it down that way.
That's scary.
All right, number 3, move more. So not necessarily walk 30 minutes a day.
I had in parentheses right here, move more.
Oh. Move more. It doesn't have to be major, just something more. So
I like it.
Move more. The Sears household is accomplishing 1 mile a day. Each of us. We have to move a mile a day, and we don't have these trackers where you get credit for steps like throughout your day.
Right. Well, how do you track it if you don't have trackers?
Like you get on a treadmill and you'll walk a mile, run a mile, jog a mile,
and y'all have one
bike a mile, row a mile. Yeah, but I've been getting up at 4:30 and going to the Y.
That's punishment
with one of my daughters.
Oh, y'all were telling me
2 days a week.
Yeah.
And my wife goes the other 2 days a week, and we make her take 1 day a week off during the weekday.
That hurts.
It's kind of fun. It's not that bad.
Did you go today?
I go on Mondays and Thursdays.
Oh, okay.
And it may be snowing on Thursday, so
really?
I may not have to go. Snow day.
Snow day.
God, yeah. So
just add snow.
Just move more.
We always need more.
We need precipitation. Number 2, write down your goals. A lot of us have goals like, oh, I want to do that. Write it down and tell them to somebody that you trust. So they can hold you accountable, basically. But just saying it out loud to somebody gives that more value.
Agreed. That's what we do in the business group. It's very helpful.
Number 1.
My goal is for Chet to give me $1 million.
You got to write it
down.
It won't come true if you don't write it down.
Yeah. Don't tell me. Tell somebody else. Number 1, read more. Bible, nonfiction, and even fiction. Just read more or listen to audiobooks.
Man, yeah, I like it.
So,
so similar.
Yeah. And I've found there's a couple books that I'm finding that I like to reread. Naturally the Bible. But I don't read through. Like I don't read through the whole Bible like in sequential order. But there's a few books out there. Your Leadership Edge from the Kansas Leadership Center. I'm actually teaching that, so it's fun to go back and read through that. Skunk Works is another really, really neat book that by Ben Rich. That's kind of funny. His name is Benjamin Rich. He's Ben Rich.
I like that.
But that's another one that it's just inspiring to me. So it's good to go back and read. And if you don't know, like from a reading Bible perspective, the easiest thing. So if you're listening to us and you're like, I don't know how to do that or whatever. A lot of people say, pick up in the book of John and just read the book of John. But if you want to get habitual about reading the Bible. One of the neat things that I've done this on and off since college, like pick a book, a smaller one, like one of the letters that was written in Colossians is the one that I always recommend. And it's short. It's just a couple pages. So you can literally read through that in a matter of minutes, but pick one of those shorter letters and read it every day for a whole month. So
yeah, I've done that.
And I say the book of Colossians is a good one to start. So read Colossians straight through every day for 30 days, and then pick another one, and like Philippians or something like that, and go through
Titus.
that. So
Philemon.
A little short one. So
page long.
Anyway, read more. So yeah, a lot of similarities between us. Maybe we're all rubbing off on each other and starting to become one mind.
No.
That's scary to think that. No!
Dramatic pause.
No!
That was a good dramatic pause.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Well, Troy, you got your good word?
I do.
Perfect. Bring it.
And it comes from day 5 of the Chosen 40 Days with Jesus book 2, the blue book here. The word is desperate. So that's not really a good word.
It's going to be a good word about the word.
It's going to be a good word about the word desperate. That's correct. So the verse is John 4:50. Jesus said to him, "Go, your son will live." The man believed the word that Jesus spoke to him and went on his way. So in the book of John, there's this guy that travels to see Jesus because he has a sick child at home. And he knows the only way, or he thinks that the only way that this child can be healed is if he goes and asks Jesus for him to be healed. So desperation pushes this man to seek out Jesus to ask him to heal his son. And there's been times in my life where I've been desperate, and there's been more times than one. And I do think that desperation can lead to Christ. And so even if it's leading to Christ for the first time, or leading to Christ more. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So recently in my life, so I'm my own business. There are slow times, there are fast times, there are abundant times, and there are not so abundant times. And my business is just coming out of an abundant time into a dip of a very slow, like, how are we going to feed the family time? Mm-hmm. A lot of that came from just the way the market is, poor planning on my wife and I's budgeting, just personal life, just a lot of factors went into that. But during those dark times, or where you can't see the light, because
Right.
you can put yourself in that place, and it's easy to do when you're not being able to take care of the people God has entrusted you to take care of.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. So yeah, in those desperate moments, I do find myself reaching out to God,
Yeah.
praying more, being more, just wanting to read more, seeking Him out more. And I can look at that two different ways. Like, it's good that I am reaching out for the Lord in desperate times.
Right.
But I can also look at it as those shouldn't be the only times.
Yeah.
I really get deep in Scripture and deep into prayer. So it's a good reminder in that.
Yeah.
Like,
Privilege of focus
yeah,
is what I call that.
I like that.
You are privileged to have the right focus right now because, hey, the main thing is the main thing right now.
yeah. And even if you are, in the Word every day, Matt, a desperate time might come that might lead you into praying, 2 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Life could all be peachy, and then your kid could get sick, like the guy in the Bible
Yeah.
in this story. And, what parent is not going to do everything that they can take every desperate measure that they can to get that kid well.
Right.
Right.
And have the faith. Once I get there, I know that he's going to take care of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one of the things I think is neat about the story. He knew it. Like,
yeah,
this is where I have to go.
That's where I have to go. That's the only way my son's going to get healed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good. So it ends with Psalms 34:18 saying, "The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit." So how does knowing that God is always near, how does that change your desperation in desperate times? Thanks for listening to the Hardheaded Podcast. Don't forget to share this podcast with others to help us get the word out.
Also, if you haven't yet, please rate and review the show. This helps our podcast show up in other people's suggested shows that may or may not have listened to us before.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.